This is the Raw and Radical Women in the Arts podcast, and I am your host, Maureen Broadbeck.
Raw, unprocessed.
In each episode, we explore the mechanisms of identity, vulnerability, authenticity, empowerment, and social change through conversations with inspiring women who are making history and challenging the status quo in both the art world and in society.
Radical, rebel, progressive.
We talk about their real-life challenges and celebrate cis and transgender women so that you can be inspired, empowered, take action, and further your critical understanding about what it means to be a woman in the arts.
Woman, feminism. A revolutionary catalyzing reformation. Radical.
Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming Marta Ponsa. Marta Ponsa is an art historian and exhibition curator. She is the head of artistic projects and cultural action at Jeu de Paume in Paris, a center for art and images where she organizes film programs, conferences, and performances. She is also managing the two online creation platforms, the magazine and the Espace Virtuel, the virtual space. She has carried out projects on European photography from the 1920s to the 1950s, on documentary and experimental video, as well as on visual and digital arts. She regularly works in institutions dedicated to contemporary creation and images, such as Les Rencontres d'Arles, the Foundation La Caixa, Foto España, Parallel Platform, the Oberhausen Film Festival, and much more. Hi Marta, welcome to the show.
Hi, Maureen. Thank you for inviting me for this conversation.
Of course. You want to talk about how you got interested in photography and film and entered the world of art?
So I am currently working in an art institution located in Paris called Jeu de Paume. It's an art center devoted to photography, visual arts and cinema, and net art. It's included also in visual arts. And I've been working in Jeu de Paume for the last 13 years. So it's
nice.
Yeah, it's a good period. Well, nevertheless, my position has changed during these years. I have had the opportunity to do and to take more projects and to get involved in the general program of the museum. So it's a nice experience. I am not French. I am Spanish, well, especially Catalan from Barcelona. So there are not so many foreigners working in cultural institutions in France. Well, I find that it's challenging, but it's in a way interesting and funny. It makes me have take a kind of distance too.
Yeah.
And to work maybe differently, I hope, because to work in a foreign country is also a way to enrich.
Of course, yeah.
Different ways of working. My career is quite classical. I studied art history, and I have started to study etching, engravings.
All right, nice.
Yeah, and how engravings were used in the 17th century by religion and missions and ordre religieuse, how we say it in France, as a mission to convert, for the conversion of indigenous of America. So I was interested in this kind of religiosity and how images are used as a way to teach and to convert and to manipulate people. Then the transfer to photography was in a way, natural for me.
Yeah.
I am interested in the power of images and all, and how are they created, the context of the creation, how are they spread.
Yeah.
Uses and abuses. That's a little bit the core of my career and my interest. Of course, moving image and especially documentary cinema interests me.
Yeah.
And this in between art, cinema and photography in the different contexts, because the cinematographic context is very specific.
Yeah.
And then the photographic is reportage, from photojournalism to art. So I am a little bit in this landscape.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. Yeah, because you are the head of artistic project and cultural action at Jeu de Paume, and you also take care of two online platforms, the magazine and the virtual space.
Yeah.
I found them very interesting. So I was wondering if you could tell us a bit about this project and how they came to life and how you saw this necessity to bring art onto a virtual space.
Yeah, we thought from the beginning of the Jeu de Paume as an art center, the visual center, that to be placed in the number one of Place de la Concorde, in Paris, we are in a very powerful and symbolic place next to the Assemblée Nationale, l'Église de la Madeleine, le Louvre. So how we can bring other audiences to our place? How we can open doors, open windows to get audience involved and to attend projects. And thanks to the platforms and the internet, we think that's possible. And also we work with images.
Yeah.
So there are many artists, creators, and activists and writers that use internet as a platform for their creations and think about internet as a new way to exchange artistic process. So that was quite an obvious thing to create the Espace Virtuel. So we open it with a collection of works produced specifically for the net.
Yeah.
So sometimes there are video, interactive. Well, there are many different formats. For me, the more interesting thing is for sure the subject and the theme the artist wants to develop with his or her project. Reproduce. I mean, we have a budget. For me, I think it's important. We have a space when we have this platform comes together with a budget in the same level that physical exhibition we present.
I see. Yeah.
And beside that, we were thinking, well, as you said, as a head of public programs, I organize seminars, roundtables, talks. And it was also a pity not having a platform to share what was going on around our exhibitions and our cinema programs. So that was magazine started as a way to share and to collect and to archive this content. And also we enlarged that asking for texts, specialists, philosophers, theoreticians, working in different disciplines to enlarge the reflections that we propose in our exhibitions.
This is great. Yeah. So it makes almost the archive public in a way.
Yeah. And we try also, to look for an aesthetically interesting platform. Not only a list of archive or podcasts or videos.
Yeah.
And we also have a place called the blog, and we invite artists, researchers who have a blog for a while.
Excellent.
Share the research, their experience, the visits they did. So it's an interesting experience, and we will keep on doing for the next years.
Yeah, because now you're closed until next spring, right?
Yeah, we are closed. We are doing renovation works. For us, in a way, it's good. I mean, because as the pandemic made the way to organize and to host people a little bit complicated.
Yeah, for sure.
And now we can think about our reopening, that it's scheduled in next May 21st. That let us time to think about it. And at the same time, we are close, so it's very nice. And we do a kind of our archive project.
Yeah.
Espace Virtuel, virtual space and magazine are still alive, so we will keep on published and share artistic projects on these two platforms.
It's a very avant-gardist approach in a way for a museum, an art center, I feel. There's a lot of reach out, a lot of projects that are made. It's really super.
See, frankly, for me, it was an evidence. But there are not so many places that have these spaces.
Not at all.
So I am a little bit astonished when I am invited to talk about the Espace Virtuel. That is not a new space. Now, during the confinement, the lockout, we had a big number of visitors going through this space. And it was our way to share, to be still alive and present art. For me is very generous.
Yeah, that's true. What is the vision? Maybe you can even say engagement for an art center like Jeu de Paume at the moment.
We are not a public space 100% because we don't belong to Ministry of Culture. But Ministry of Culture is our main support and sponsor. And we have a mission of public service. This is the goal. So we work with different audiences. We search different audiences. We are open, and this is our main objective.
I see.
For the sensibilization of contemporary art and images from scholars, young children, and to try to figure out partnerships with many different type of audience.
Yeah, art has such an importance in society, and often it's not considered as such by the general public. But it is where people have really a true reflection with philosophers, writers, everybody in the cultural sphere has such an importance in thinking about our society and coming up with propositions and new ways to look at it. For me, it's very important. It's really placed back at the center of it.
Yeah, what we propose through art, through artistic projects, videos, photographs, is to take time to think about, to reflect. Nowadays, our life is very, practical aspect and the technical aspects of our lives have taken so important, so big, that we have forgotten to take time to think about what's going on, what was the past, what was the future, and also a desire to understand what was going on. A movement. I think now, unfortunately, we need moments to think about things. We cannot just eat. It's more important that these nourished things pass through the brain before to go into the stomach.
Yes.
And to, because we accept everything, and we need we accept that we can't say no to things. We can say we don't like, we don't want that. Our societies doesn't accept these shapes of dissidence, and I think art is a place of dissidence and transgression.
Yeah, absolutely. When we consider the point of view of feminism and the active callings of many women artists and women in the arts to be recognized and validated in the art world, do you think that the visual language and code of imagery through photography and video have changed in the past 2 decades since, the multiplication of accessibility to imagery through the social networks that started early in the century?
The virtual online platforms are a new place to exhibit, to show, to share, to discuss. So for me, it's a main change.
Yeah.
When someone told me about this Instagrammer or this photographer that is very well followed in one platform, I said, okay, but the choice has been multiplied by, I don't know, millions.
Millions, yeah.
So creators of images are just in front of my door. You can have an access to all these kind of images, but to do what? I am talking generally speaking, not to women or male or other genders. We use images from different proposals, goals, but image is a part of our daily life. All of us, we have a mobile device in our pocket.
Yes.
So we can use it to protest. We can use just to share as a kind of voyeurism way in the blog, Instagram, etc. And it's interesting to see that as a new spaces, political spaces, where we can show off ourselves and share opinions. But it's also the question, as I tell you before, is the question of this rapidity, this fastness. It's very easy to write or to share an image. And maybe we think we have lost this moment of think about the consequences or to reflect, count until 100, before doing something. We are living in another universe. I am a woman of the 20th century living in the 21st. I am trying. I follow my daughters. I have 2 daughters, so I follow what they said about this kind of representation online and the images they like. But I'm very interested in that point, because if we lost this audience, now I am talking about curator or working in a public institution. If we lost this audience, we lost everything. And we should be very, very clever to trying to find subjects, to interest them. I'm not talking about doing a populist program, but to try to be clever. I want them to see these artists, but what can I do? Well, maybe I will use social networks to interest them, because my goal is that they find that we are useful. I don't want to listen to this young generation to say, okay, well, I don't need to go to a museum to see photographs or videos because I can do that on my mobile device. It's true, but this is another kind of experience. This is what my goal, my wish. It's another kind of experience and reflection that we propose in our centers. But I'm talking about general point of view.
In your opinion, what are the new challenges for women in the arts? Or are they new challenges, or they still the old ones? Or there's new ones?
For me, we are still a lot of things to do. We are still, as I told you about, I have just read this book, The Encyclopedia of Masculine Domination of Andrea Fatima. And I realized that we are still far away from an equality in representation, in power, in the cultural and social daily life. We have made a lot of improvements, but we cannot sleep. I don't know what to say. We cannot say, okay, that the things are going well. We have half and half ministers, women and ministers, men. No, this is not only a thing. We are not talking about just representation. We are talking about a real action and power. And also, I think, a different way to manage and to see the world with maybe this is the moment to see differently things, differently our relation with natural world, with our family, friends, and relatives, our networks, because of this crisis that has isolated us for a while, and we are still locked out in Paris, for instance. Not at the same level, but so maybe we can think about create another kind of society. I don't want to be naive neither, but I think we need to be very, very attentive to pay a lot of attention of things that's going on, because it's a little bit as we were living in two different temporalities. In a way, voila, they are big symbols in the artistic world, much more art is being presented in big institutions. There are efforts that are being made. But in the small details, the old-fashioned patriarchal power or view over the world appears in the schools, in the universities, comments about how a girl is dressed or not dressed. We forbid to be dressed on a specific way. All the movements, online movements, have had a lot of importance on the net about that, Black Matters. But for that, I think that's the moment that men take their responsibilities, because, okay, we show off, we do presentations, manifestations, but they should also do some actions. We can make a reclamation, we can reclaim, we can protest, but then they should also maybe let a place to have this generosity to share the spaces.
Maybe actively participate.
See, it's not because of us, it's because to everyone. It's not a thing that we want to, it's a kind of revenge, and now we want all the power. I think any of us wants that, or, well, I don't want to make a generalization, but the thing is that we should share things and work together. So that's enough to this. When we saw still this patriarchal comment, or these big ministers on the main countries all around the world, to say that things is old-fashioned. We cannot approve that, and we voila. So I think the public sphere should be shared, and the power should be shared, and that now is the responsibility of men, because it's the way of the life is going on. They cannot stop things. Or things cannot be stopped.
Do you think men and women are still differentiated in the art world? Do you feel that?
Yesterday was the opening of the Marcel Duchamp exhibition. So artists, French or living in France, is the main public prize devoted to, well, that devoted to an artist, French or living in France.
Yeah.
So there were 2 male and 2 female. Since maybe 2 or 3 years, it's half and half. Okay, that's very good, but the winner is always a male. I don't know, but for the last, not always, but the 70%, I read the article today, but the big amount, okay, so the representation is there. They cannot say that we are not present. We have two other, but then the winner is not a woman. I am for the artistic quality of art, not because a woman made an art. I am not so simplistic for sure, but it's quite representative that being half and half, there is always male artists that are the winners. So also in the last rounds of universities or laboratories, they're making efforts and they have half and half, male and female. But the gesture should be to arrive until the end and select a woman. Not only because we did that, but finally there is a man. Things should change, because otherwise the average doesn't correspond to the reality.
Yeah.
We are more than the 50%, and we are in equal rights. So that things that are haunting me. I mean, it's not easy to face that issue.
Yeah.
But in my small work, in my programs, I try to pay special attention to that. But not only the representation of women, but also in representation of peripheral minorities. That interests me personally. And I think we should share that to our audience, to discuss about that in public programs, in the exhibitions.
Yes.
For me, that's the more important thing we can do as programmers and working with art and artists.
Do you think that because we are confronted to men's work much more in art history books and courses, in museums, etc., and because of this repetition and familiarity, we are in general, subconsciously maybe, more at ease with their work, with their sensibility? Do you think it has an influence on how we perceive and value men and women's work? And do you think women approach their subjects with a different sensibility?
In my opinion, no. Because the thing is that we didn't have the opportunity to be painters or be artists or choose our own profession. And that's why we are less represented in museums and collections. But when you are in front of a Artemisia Gentileschi painting, you feel the same sensibility, the same power and emotion than any other male artist, I would say. And contemporary art is more evident. I think we share a lot of sensibilities between women, male and female, or many genders. Women and men, because you are discussing about this specific duality. I don't think so. I think we are ready to understand any kind of sensibility if it touches us, if we feel it's true. And I can read a book by a male or a female or a trans and to feel and to understand the same way. But if you want me to say if there is a different, you can recognize a piece of art if it's made by a male and a female, I'm not sure. It's interesting as a point of a starting point. I think both can be interested in the same, but women maybe they are more close or have this kind of sensitivity for fragility or minorities but I am saying that in my mind there are coming some counter examples of men that are working in the same subject as well. So it's complicated to say that if there is a different sensibility. I think it should, because we are not the same. But femininity and masculinity, or if we are discussing about this, they are shared between the two genders. And there are many other genders appearing now and many other positions as a gender that I think they are very, very interesting too. that make us think about the reality, and they are also working in art and presenting projects and shock us. And I am very interested to know why that shocked me. I don't think we understand better male artistic projects than female or other genders because we have this experience in the past. No, because we didn't have the experience in the past of women artists because they couldn't present. And in fact, they should have followed the same artistic movements. In the Impressionists, there are many artists. Maybe if you study Berthe Morisot from a point, there are many articles. Yeah, you find in a way some aspect where she was criticizing her position of a woman staying at home and not being. See, there are many. They are more richer because they add some autobiographical aspects, maybe. But the audience will not appreciate better the work of a male or female.
Do you think that it has to do with education? That women may be less prone to promote themselves or less easily talk about themselves? That it has to do maybe with more self-confidence, or they're a bit more restrained to talk about their work and promote their work? Or
to talk about themselves, no, because there are a lot of artistic projects or literary projects that are autobiography or based on their own experiences. But maybe this question of promotion, something that we can work on, and also galleries, museums, and also the way that we didn't have any figure we can a model we can follow and imitate or not. We didn't have many of these models in the social panorama. So our work was harder because we should find in ourselves our own ways of create ourselves and fight. And we didn't have structures. We didn't have any. So we invent things together or alone, and then things happen.
That's true.
To have that kind of figures that can inspire you.
Yes, true. What you said about the prize, the Marcel Duchamp prize, that it's only of most men that win it every year. I was wondering, that's either a conscious choice to give it to a man, or is it because we are more used to see men's work and that would mean the sensibility or the approach is different? Or what is it? Why is that? And then that make me also think about Diane Arbus and one of her first show where people spit on the photograph because they didn't like the subject. Because photography was supposed to be documenting, but documenting without disturbing. And she brought those images that people didn't like because they were disturbing, because they were of a reality people didn't want to see. It seems to me that it was a very feminine approach to look at this that way, from this angle, to look at those people that were different, but that were living a different life, but to take photograph of them as real human beings and to validate their existence. It seemed something maybe a woman would do at the time and not men because of societal rules, societal ways to do things. That's why I was wondering that. Is it because, we've been men painted a certain way and then they came up with new ideas, new reflection, and all those movements follow each other in art history. They all came after the other and they follow a certain line. And then with the flux movement and all the performance from women, that really disturbed, in a way, what was happening.
See, there are much more to, as they didn't have affiliation, they did things that are more transgressive.
Yeah.
What you say. And in the way of photographers, the photography is an art that the photographer is there.
Yeah.
And is confront when you work with social photography or documentary, as Diane Arbus that you just mentioned. And it's not the same to be in front of a woman who, as Diane Arbus was, that was very sensitive, very discreet, small size, smile, and good attached to the audience. You are more open and feel comfortable than probably if you have a photojournalism, this kind of archetype of photojournalist that are saying now you pose. And in front of Diane, probably the poses were a little bit different because you
Yeah.
with someone who
Yeah.
her gaze was not the same.
Yeah.
He was not hunting to do pictures. So this respect for the other, because she saw in the other the fragility she has herself
Yeah.
in a way.
Yeah.
And this respect, you feel that in the images. We did a big exhibition in Jeu de Paume several years ago. It was not a success in a hyper success. It was the more visit exhibition we did in the last years, for instance.
Nice.
Together with Richard Avedon, you know. But I think Diane Arbus, we had more people than Richard Avedon. Yeah, it's a positive thing, and this kind of empathy that she had in front of the human beings. See.
And so you think that we, as women in the art world, have this responsibility to help change things?
Yeah.
Because we have that voice that maybe others cannot have. We have a platform, we have creativity, we have creations, we have art pieces, we have all this.
Yeah.
Do you think we can?
I think we can, and we should.
We should try at least.
See, and as I say, we should keep on and pay attention and look around and think, because to make changes is always complicated, because we are moving through a direction, but that is not the powerful direction, is going to the other side. But as I told you, I think women is a work that women should make. Men should make, and other genders should make too.
Yeah.
I think it's not a group of women all around the world that no, I think it's a general.
Yeah.
I am utopist, but no, I think it will be better for every one of us.
I think it's a very good point. Yeah.
See, it's a rich point. We offer other ways to manage, as I said, to react in front of things, to analyze things and problems and issues. And when I saw all this during the lockout and until now, all the ministers presenting the things with the specialists saying, okay, today the COVID has all these men like this, the authoritarianism still again. So I am not saying a women can do differently, but probably yes, or we pay attention to other things.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we can let us do. They haven't do the things very well, so maybe now we can do things better.
Agreed. So you think everything should be more inclusive? We should include. So that means also that the democratization of art is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not the same as populism, as I said. I would love that any kind of audience can come to the Jeu de Paume. I am not saying that everybody should love what we present. No, that will be a little bit a pity. I want discussion, I want reflection. I want people say, oh, I didn't like that. Photography is not art. Okay, this is the moment to discuss, to reflect, to create that kind of reflections. And I think this question of genders in plural, it's also a point that we should pay attention. And it's interesting in artistic landscapes. In my profession, I would say. I am interested in that, to see if there is another ways to think and to present the changes in our bodies.
Yeah.
I think it's also interesting. But as women, I hope men are also interested in these questions, but I am interested as women. Maybe I have another discourse or I can make a different theory. But I think, well, it's a clue moment, and we will not think that everything is already done and behind us. No.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. What a wonderful conversation that raised so many important subjects, which brings a lot to reflect on. Take a look at the Jeu de Paume's website, the Espace Virtuel, the virtual space, and the magazine. They're all very interesting and inspiring. This podcast is supported by Pro Helvetia, the Swiss Arts Council, and the city of Lancy. We are so thankful for their support and commitment to culture, women, and the arts. Thanks for listening to Raw and Radical Women in the Arts podcast. Learn more about our featured artists and sign up for news and updates by visiting our website rawradical.com.
Organic, radical, profound.
Please consider leaving us a comment and review on your preferred podcast listening platform to help others discover the show and take part in this global dialogue.
She, intuitive.
I am Maureen Broadbeck,
Fatal.
and until next time, keep the dream alive.
Woman.